Now, we talked about the successes. I mean, you're saying that if we look at it overall in 2013, it would seem that we recorded more successes than failures. In fact, for you, it would seem that there was no major incident. But towards the end of the year, we also saw that in those areas where state of emergency had been declared, there were some brazen attacks by members of the Boko Haram force. Talking about the attack on the Air Force Base that, till now, I don't think that we've been given a figure as to the casualty of those who lost their lives, both on the side of the military and even on the other side of the Boko Haram members as well. Do you see us also letting down our guard based on the successes that we've been able to record in the past?
Not at all. And that's why I said initially that not yet Uhuru at all. We've not got there. But I can assure that with each of the attacks, federal government gets wiser. By deploying, intelligence and making sure people are trained. You see, when the enemies are attacked in a particular place, of course they relocate. They keep on strategizing. So the onus is on us to also to have steps ahead of them. Because in security, you have to behave like a criminal yourself to be able to deal with criminals.
But what were your thoughts when that attack happened in Borno?
Well, it's just the fact that there is no armor against fate. Sometimes some of these things happen. You can be taken unaware at any time. That shows that the people are not sleeping. It's just like the Christians are advised not to sleep because their enemies are not sleeping. So these enemies are not sleeping. They strategize day in, day out. They are fighting for a cause, and they are ready to die for that cause. And that is why they are not sleeping. So government also should not sleep. Government should deploy more in terms of funds, in terms of manpower, in terms of training and whatever, sending them out to gather more intelligence and all that. I think the government should, without caring whose horse is God.
No, some people were
and that's where the political aspect comes in, their political will comes in, without caring whose horse is God. Because as at now, some of us are not very comfortable because not all those who have been penciled have been dealt with the way we would have loved it to be done. So that's why I say, without caring whose horse is God, if the government is ready to fight it all out, of course we'll get there. Whoever is apprehended, either remotely, tangentially, or whatever, so get the person to talk and remove all political leanings.
Some people were concerned, the nature of the brazenness, of this element, so to speak. I mean, they took the fight, so to speak, to the Air Force Base in the state of emergency. You would think that, alertness will be taken for granted, don't you think?
Yes. If they could, I mean, I was here the other time when that one happened in the Air Force Base. I think I was here to discuss the issue that was gravely a failure of intelligence. And also the fact that we cannot rule out the factor of fifth columnists, which I mentioned here. We can't rule out the factor of moles among those who are actually fighting them. Okay, because, even the president said it the other time that even among his cabinets, he could not trust some of the people that they hold meeting together. So is that bad? If you get to a situation whereby you don't trust the people you hold regular meetings together, and some of these meetings have to do with state integrity. So before you finish your meeting, the Boko Harams already got wind of your strategy. It's very bad. And that is the problem we have now. How do we sift? How do we weed out this bad element, even within government and the legislature? It is when we are able to do that, if at all we can do that, we will say it's now Uhuru. Because the government will now be focused, the government will face one direction, and all of us will think alike to go and decimate the individual. But we don't still have moves here and there. And who will, before a meeting to maybe deal with them is over, they already got wind of the strategy of the government, so what do we do?
I don't want to focus on Boko Haram. There have been also other security challenges in the plateau. We've seen what's been going on there, sporadic killings every now and again. Just now, we're getting to hear that 33 people have been buried in a mass grave. That is still happening. We also see what's happening in Benue, Nasarawa, with the infiltration of alleged Fulani herdsmen and sacking entire villages and causing people to be displaced. Do you think that we really have a hang of what is happening in terms of security in these areas?
Funny enough, that one has been from time immemorial. What you just mentioned now did not start in the life of this administration. It's been on. Even the 8 year of Chief Obasanjo, these things were on. It's been on for a long time. it is the political will I mentioned. That is, if in fact, what the politicians even cause in all this ethnic violence is even more, because they play one ethnic against the other for their political and parochial, considerations. And this is the problem we have. And when we have people like that who obviously are in the wrong, have we been able to deal with them the way the law would have prescribed such people to be dealt with? So that is the problem. I've always decried the fact that we do not have deterrent mechanism in this country. So when somebody commits error, when somebody has committed offense, it's not dealt with according to the law. And when such a thing is done, it's a precedent you've already laid. Those who will commit the same error tomorrow, they will see the one of yesterday as a precedent. That one was not dealt with. So why should I be different? And so this thing continues. There's no deterrent mechanism here, and that's why also the factor of corruption is here with all like a malignant tumor that has refused to go.
You just talked about politicians now. This is a brand new year, and 2014. If you say some actions or inactions of some of these leaders or political leaders actually causes some of this trouble we are in, what are we likely to see in this 2014? Have they changed from what they were in 2013 for us to have a better 2014, or are they getting any worse?
Unfortunately, I think they are getting worse, because first of all, the leopard cannot change its spot. Now, with the alignment and realignment and cross-carpeting and all this joining of parties, leaving one for the other, and with this era of letters, so these things will aggravate the already tense atmosphere. Because when we see leaders, political gladiators writing offensive letters and all that, so it's now crisscrossing. So when somebody from the south is writing a letter to somebody in the southwest, and these are political gladiators, and you bound to see responses, and some of these responses are not charitable. So these things are hitting the polity, and the fact that a party, some people are leaving one party for the other, not that they have changed. The content has not changed. It's just the approach and what they want you to see. If somebody leaves PDP for APC, for instance, I do not see any change that anybody should expect.
Does it affect security as well?
A whole lot of things will be affected, because it's the same people, the gladiators in PDP, those we complain about that have made life miserable for ordinary people in Nigeria. They are the same people who are migrating to another party. They are not born again. They may have been born again by way of changing one party to the other, but inside of them, we know they are not born again.
Let me draw from,
what do we do?
Let me draw from some of your comments at the initial stage, which by innuendo. Now, we know that security gets a lot of bashing in this country and even elsewhere, because nobody wants excuses. Everybody wants to be safe. But you talked about deterrence, because if you have to get the security to function optimally, we have to look at it holistically, in the manner of speaking. This aspect of compensation, how often do we look at it? Because many of these security agencies lose their lives. And some of those who eventually lose their lives, well-trained, a lot of manpower, of course, funds which was used in training all of them, and this happens across board. How often do we talk about compensating the families of those of them who have lost their lives, and in bid to encourage others to say, listen, the country is behind you. Keep fighting the fight.
In fact, that's the major issue, really, why security men cannot really put in all their best in fighting terrorism and in fighting any ills for that matter. Because they see the fact that those who died yesterday fighting for their fatherland have been forgotten. The families have been forgotten too. Many of them are living from hand to mouth, because since the death of the breadwinners. So that is the problem in Nigeria. Unless we are able to actually take care of the people, by extension, taking care of those who are actually fighting. Look at it, there have been complaints, and unfortunately, the security sector is a branch of the economy that cannot really go on strike. They can't even complain aloud. They only murmur. And when they murmur, it goes down into their efficiency and efficacy in dealing with in actually carrying out their job. And so when somebody just discovers that, look, of all these things, after all, what am I gaining? It is true that I signed for this. Some people will say, oh, if they can't do the work of police, let them resign. So how many of them will resign? So if all of them resign, who will do the job? Somebody has to do the job. It is the government we should tell to actually do what is needful for these people so that they can do everything they can to safeguard lives and property. Because in other climes, we see how our people work. We say this all the time, that when they go out, they perform optimally. And to the extent that some of them even win so many laurels by the time they are coming back. How come by the time they come to Nigeria, what is happening? It shows that we don't know their value. We don't really pay them for what they are worth, and that is the problem. Look, it is bound to work against anybody because they are human beings too who buy from the same market, send their children to the same schools. So they see all these things. Moreover, they are the people, they are the custodian of our money, especially the money the politicians carry up and down. They see all this Ghana must go.
Look at the
and
police,
yet they don't eat out of it.
Police pension funds.
Yes.
Look at the way that one went. And then the courts are also related to this. We've seen one, I think a senator is also undergoing trial for this alleged terrorism aspect. So how do all of this? They're supposed to work and encourage and motivate our agencies.
That's exactly what I'm saying. We have trials without end, and delayed. I mean, this has led to delayed justice. So, when you see a situation like that, where an individual just manipulated pensions fund and all that, you give him just a slap in the wrist and all, it's an insult to our collective sensibility. It's an insult, and the police may see all these things. Somebody who has stolen, not just ordinary people's money, police pensions fund. Yeah, the guy is not in jail as we speak. It's unfortunate indeed. It's really unfortunate. So it's a holistic surgery we need to do on the judiciary, body politic, and the fight against corruption must start from such a place, for instance, for people to see that we are really serious fighting corruption. So you can't say you're fighting corruption when people like that are still there. We still have cases to point at where there have been injustices here and there. Whereas when somebody steals a goat, he will serve jail time of about 2, 3, 4 years, and somebody steals billion, giving him 6 months. Wow. What kind of insult is that?
Well, there you go. So we need to encourage our security agencies while heaping those huge expectations, because they go together.
Yeah, we need to encourage them, and we also need to, and that also depends on how much confidence we have in them. Because when you don't have confidence in them, you cannot leak secret, you cannot tell them information as to how to carry out his job. And that is what we are still talking about. If they are well motivated, the government really pays them well and compensates them well, of course, they will not look elsewhere. So they will focus on their job. And if somebody volunteers information, that person's life will not be in jeopardy.
So those are some of the areas we'll be expecting improvement this year, 2014, with respect to security. Dr. Femi Adegbulu, thank you for coming on this morning.
My pleasure to be here.
We'll return after this. Please join us again.